name is Haight, and I am a clinical mental health counselor practicing here in Salt Lake City, Utah. I have been in the field of mental health with a specific focus on trauma and trauma recovery for the past 15 years and have been a practicing therapist for 8 of those years. And trauma is my specialty. I have worked extensively in domestic violence and sexual violence and have really come to love and feel passionate about the concept of therapy as a vehicle for creating post-traumatic growth. The name of my practice is the Utah Center for Post-Traumatic Growth, and that's what we do. I am an EMDR specialist. EMDR is eye movement desensitization and reprocessing. It's a well-researched method for treating post-traumatic stress, and also have training in somatic-focused interventions, so really understanding the connection between mind and body, especially in treating trauma, and keeping the focus on the nervous system and the neurobiology of trauma so that we can really take a bottom-up approach to healing. My clients and I always ground our practice in Judith Hermans' 3-stage model for trauma recovery. Judith Herman is a psychiatrist who wrote a book called Trauma and Recovery and really gave us a great model for understanding the basic stages of healing trauma and making sure that we're meeting people where they're at and really working with whatever stage of recovery they're in. So that recovery process starts with the stabilization phase. My clients and I always start with that, building safety and security within the therapeutic relationship, and then focusing on building up their skill set for self-regulation, distress tolerance, all of the basics that are needed to be able to do good trauma processing. We then move into the second stage of that work, which is the remembrance, mourning phase. I call it the reprocessing stage. This is where we really dig into the traumatic memory. We can use methods like EMDR. I also have some training in internal family systems and natural processing, mindfulness-based approaches. So we pull a lot of tools in to help them safely revisit the traumatic memories and move through them in a more adaptive way. All the while, really relying on the skills we learned early on in therapy to help them self-regulate through the process and stay safe and in their bodies as we revisit the trauma. Then we move into the last phase of trauma recovery, which is reconnection. It's where we're really focused on helping them build healthy, strong relationships with others, find careers and lives that they feel passionate about, or strengthen those areas of their life if they're already in a place that they are thriving, and really focus on reconnecting in the world, integrating their new understanding of themselves into their identity, maybe coming up with a survivor mission. This is where we see a lot of that post-traumatic growth, where people actually can grow more resilient after a traumatic incident or after complex trauma than they ever would have been had they not learned to work through that. I really enjoy practicing from a strengths-based approach or an empowerment-focused approach. Some of my training in feminist multicultural practice is part of that, but I really believe that a trauma-informed approach is always empowerment-focused. When people have had extreme experiences of powerlessness, they really need to feel empowered and in charge of their process. So that informs my approach all throughout the therapeutic process. I also teach at Westminster College. I teach a class on trauma treatment and also a class on the neuroscience of trauma, and really enjoy teaching educators and upcoming therapists how to be trauma-informed in everything that they do. I do professional trainings in the community on trauma stewardship, trauma-informed practice, and I'm really focused on creating a community where trauma survivors can heal in ways that feel restorative and that we can create post-traumatic growth for the many people that have been touched by trauma.